Hi guys, good to see you again today. Remember yesterday we left off making the stringer, which is this bottom section right here, and looks like this. We had a 20-degree angle on the bottom. And then I told you when we came back today that I would show you how to make the legs, attach the legs, and then also make the two support members that we need in order to put the legs together to get our basic chair frame going. Okay, I cut the other stringer out that I needed for yesterday. Also, if you notice too, while I'm thinking about it, I went ahead and finished this chair up. I did the arms, I did the radius on the front of the arms. I angled back my arms a little bit. It's kind of an aesthetic thing, I guess. I arced or did a radius on the top, sanded all the edges and everything. So this chair is pretty much done. Now, as far as our project goes, and I want to clarify too, guys, you're not required to make this at home. All you have to do is watch the video and answer some questions on a video that I'll present at the end of the project. That's all you have to do. I have some people that are actually making the project with me. That's cool. Good for you. If you need help with it, hit me up in an email. If we need to talk, you can send me your phone number. I'll give you a call or whatever, or we can do a video chat or whatever you need to do if you're making the project. All right, now I've got both of my stringers cut, but I need to know where to put the leg. And the legs were simple. I just cut them out of a piece of 1x6 pine, which is nominally 5.5 inches wide, 3/4 of an inch thick, and I cut the length at 20 inches, okay? Now, I put it on there. This is the way I want it to go, but I'm not sure exactly where to place this in relationship to the notch or bird's mouth that I cut out. It's got to be exactly in the middle of that. So what I'm going to do is put this up on a little bit. With a piece. Actually, I don't need to do that. I'll line it up, and if you notice, my table's got an edge on it. And the reason I did that is so that when I built my stringer or my chair leg, it would pretty much approximate what the ground or floor would be. So that's why I have a straight edge along here, so I can build it to that straight edge, and then I know that it's going to sit flat when it gets put down on the floor. Now, to figure out where this goes, I'm going to put the chair leg underneath my stringer. The reason I'm doing that is because that lets me see where my cutout is, or my bird's mouth, okay? If you need to move around so that you can get where I'm pointing and stuff like that, I need you to do that, please, cameraman. Okay, so you can see how the bird mouth is there. Now, this is the cross member that goes between the bottom to hold the legs together. It's this piece right here, okay? Now I made my original chair 20 3/4 inches wide, but I thought that on this one, I wanted to mix it up a little bit and make it so that since I'm not getting any skinnier, I wanted to make the chair a little bit wider so that it would accommodate my girth, so to speak. So this piece, and remember we're going to cut two just like this, and you'll see why later. But this piece is just cut out of a piece of 1x4, which is, like I say, the nominal size on a 1x4 is 3.5 by 3/4, and I made it 22 inches in length. You're going to need to come over here, cameraman, please. Okay. Now, that's the way it's going to fit together. That's the way my stringer is going to be at its angle against my edge here. The bottom of the front leg is against the edge so that I know that's going to approximate the ground or the floor, and it's going to be flat. Now I need to figure out, I want this groove from the bird's mouth, or I should say this notch, part of the notch, to be exactly in the middle of my leg. When this is installed, then I want this cross member to be basically in the middle of the leg. So how do I arrive at that? All I need to do is I can put my leg in there where it goes and then measure. I have 2 1/8. Over here I have 2 1/2. So I know that I've got to slide my leg this way, and it probably should measure the difference between 2 1/2 and 2 1/8 is 2 3/8. So if I've got 2 3/8 on each side, I've got about 2 7/16 there, 2 1/4 there. So just a little bit further over. Make sure I'm staying flat against my edge. I can put my piece in. And I've got just slightly over 2 1/4 there, 2 3/8 there. So it's within a 1/16. That's pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead and get it to where they're exactly the same size. So I've got 2 3/8 and 2 3/8. So I'm good with it being right there. Now, since I know that's where it's going to go, I'm going to go ahead and make a small pencil line in my bird's mouth just to give me an angle. Then that lets me know that if I were to move this and I set it back down, I know exactly if I fall into that angle with the bird's mouth or my cutout, that's where it's supposed to go. Again, always keeping the leg and the bottom of the stringer against my edge on the table, okay? So, I know from there that's where my leg's supposed to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and make just a couple of series of marks. And again, don't get carried away with the marks that you make on your project because they're too hard to sand off later. And if you just make small faint marks, then it's really easy to clean it up later. It won't show through your stain or whatever finish that you plan on putting on it when you're done with the project. So just small, and don't use a Sharpie or a pen or anything like that. I prefer a number 3 Ticonderoga pencil. That's just my deal. And I always sharpen both ends, and you guys know why I do that. I take the erasers off so nobody steals my pencil at school when I leave it laying around. I always know it's mine. So usually in the shop too, I always try to wear a hat because I like to keep my pencil handy. All right, now we know where this goes, so we can take this up and we see our faint little marks right here that we made. All I need to do is put my glue on, and my glue is going to go kind of like a snake all around through there and then down on this section here. I want to avoid getting into where the notch is because that's an open part. There's no reason to put glue down here. It's an open section. If I put glue down there, then I've just made a mess. Okay, so that's how it's all glued together. And then after I do that, I go ahead and pop 1, 2, 3, 4 nails in from this side. And after I've done that, I end up with the chair leg put together like this with the stringer, okay? Goes just like that. And this is how it was sitting before when we got it all set up. Now, I have to put, or be able to put, screws in from this side. If you notice, on the sample chair, I've got 2 screws right here running up and down the leg, okay? Don't worry about these right now. I'll show you those later. But these 2 are what holds that cross member piece in so that it can attach to the stringer. Now it's hard to tell where those holes go, so from the outside anyways. So what you're going to do, this is all glued together just like I showed you. You'll put your piece back in here And then all you have to do is make a couple of marks just around here where this cross member would be sitting, and then go in between those marks, make a little pencil mark. Then after you've made the pencil mark, you can take a plain drill bit like this, drill down through where you made your mark, turn it over, and then that's, you know, where the holes are going to get drilled for the screws that go in from the outside. So it's really simple to line it up that way. Now, since we have one leg done and we've countersunk the holes, remember countersinking is the bit that we used before when we put our screws in, like for the shelf that we made and a couple of other little things, a little bookshelf. And this top right here is a little larger than the bit itself. And all you have to do is drill down to about this distance on the countersink or on the pilot bit. What that does is it cuts out on the wood so that the screw, if you notice how the screw is shaped kind of in it like a triangle without a top, okay? We want that to fit exactly into the wood. That's why we countersink it, so that the top of our screw will be flat. But don't drill too deep, because we don't want the screw to go all the way down inside of the project, because if we had to remove it for some reason, it would break up the wood when we tried to take it out. So we want the screw as flat as possible, like these. You can see the screw is just slightly under the surface of the leg. Okay? Now, we've got one made. We've got the screws all put in. You guys have been introduced to the drills and the countersink. Here's the next thing. We've got one more leg to make. Now keep in mind, please, that there's a right and a left leg on this thing. If you make both of them like this one, then you'd have two left legs. They've got to be opposing each other or opposite. What I like to do is, since I have this thing already set up on my table with my flat edge, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach a little piece right here. If I can find something short and sweet to put right there. So I always try to keep my little offcut pieces laying around. I'm going to put a piece there. Grab one of my handy dandy clamps. Squeeze that into place. And essentially all I've done is extend the table, okay? And I'll show you why I want to do that. And put another piece right here. I make sure they're flat and straight and flush with the table itself. Okay, so now I have it set up. All I have to do is take my other stringer, make sure I have the right piece. I'm going to go ahead and lay my stringer right over the top of the one that I've already made. Now I'm going to line up my edges. The most critical edges are in this bird mouth cutout and then this top line right here. And you can see why I added this to the table, because my edge is not tall enough to accommodate both thicknesses. And I want to keep them nice and flat and straight. So this is really simple. I can lay my leg on top and just look down and see that they're lined up. Now if I want to be all NASA on it, I can go ahead and grab my speed square, put it down there, and it could have been about a 30-second off. I can do the same thing here. That's about a 16th. Not really liking that. I'm going to flip this over and see if it fits a little better from this side. And it does. So we're good with the way they line up right there. So that makes it really simple to match up both sides of the legs and the stringers. Then all I have to do is make a faint little line across it like that, so I know where my leg goes on. Now I've sanded the edges of all these so I have no sharp edges or anything like that, okay? I want it really smooth to the touch, all right? Now, we'll take my glue. I like using Titebond. There are other glues I'm sure that are just as good. I just kind of prefer this one because it gives me a little bit of time before it sets up. So if I have to move something, it's easy to move. If you use something that dries too quickly and then you find out that, oh, I need to move that, well, it's already set up, and then you end up having to rip the thing apart in order to get it to set. And again, I don't like to get too close to the edges. And I try to put my glue on in, like I say, kind of like a snake pattern as they were moving across the desert or whatever, right? So about like that. And use enough glue, but not too much. Generally, about half as thick as what your pencil is a pretty good bead. And then once you've got that, and you've got your marks already, so you know where the leg goes back. So you can put your leg down, line it up with your marks. You can look down it and see that these edges are lined up and parallel with each other this way. And you've got it. That's how you put the stringer and the leg together. Now, let that sit for about a minute before you nail it. I'm going to go ahead and fire up my compressor. And the reason I say that, if you can let it set a little while, then it doesn't shear or move while you're going to put the nail in. You don't want the thing to shift and to come out of alignment with the bottom leg while you're putting your nail in. So just about a minute or so. I've probably used enough time. And then I'll just put on this one, just one nail there. I'm going to check again just to make sure I'm lined up. And another nail there, and I'm good. Nails, for me anyways, I use a 1 1/4 inch wire nail or brad. Makes it real simple, and I don't have to worry about it coming through the other side or anything like that. And it's just there for me to keep everything aligned and to set it up while the glue's drying so that I know nothing's going to shear or move or anything like that. So I've got that. And on the other side, I ran my screws. We can set it up. You can see how our edges and our notch and all that stuff are pretty much in the front, are pretty much lined up. Now, see these two screws here? Those are the ones that we're going to put in on this other side, just so both sides match up and the screw gives us good strength in holding the project together. So I've got my bevel set at 20 degrees, which remember was the same as my base angle. And I'm gonna go in about, 1 1/8 inches from each side. Got my laser vision on today so I can tell what 1 1/8 inches is without actually having to bust out the tape measure. And then, okay, I know where those 2 screws go. I'm gonna take my drill with the countersink and line it up on my mark, starting the drill slowly, okay? And then go ahead and plunge. If you can get a little closer and get a picture of that hole. I don't want you to drill too deep on the hole. That one's marginally close. It could be maybe 30-second deeper than it should be, but again, blow off any of the excess sawdust because you don't want it left in there when you put the screw in, because that'll keep the screw up above the surface. Now, it's important here to use the screw, and I'm using a 1 1/4 inch outdoor screw, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it, put it in. And I've got, you notice that clicking noise? It's because I have my drill set on a low number right here. And what that does, the higher the number, the higher or harder it is to stop this thing from turning. But this is kind of has a built-in clutch, so if I have it on a lower number, it's going to stop as the screw begins to have some force, see, like that. And that way it doesn't allow me to put the screw in farther than I need to. So there, we have both screws put in, we have the thing all nailed together, we have both sides lined up. We've got a left and a right. So on our next video, I'll show you how to put the cross members in, and we'll go from there. Okay, thank you.